There's a millionaire who drives a 12-year-old car, wears the same 5 shirts on rotation, orders the cheapest thing on the menu every single time. You'd never guess what he's actually worth just by looking at him, and that's exactly the point. Meanwhile, there's a man drowning in debt who just leased a car he can't afford, wearing a watch he's still paying off. If you had to guess which one was actually rich, you'd probably get it wrong. Almost everyone does. That mistake, the one you almost made just now, is exactly why most people never actually become wealthy. We're taught to read wealth by what we see, but what we see is often the exact opposite of what's really happening. This video is about a strategy almost nobody talks about. It's called the power of invisibility. And once you understand it, you'll never look at spending, status, or success the same way again. Let's call our modest millionaire Walter. Walter built his fortune over 30 years, running a small but steady business. Today he's worth just over $4 million, and almost nobody in his town has any idea. Walter still buys groceries with coupons, still fixes his own gutters, still drives 40 minutes out of his way to save 11 cents a gallon on gas. To anyone watching, Walter looks like he's barely scraping by. And that's not an accident. That's the entire strategy. Walter understood something decades ago that most people never figure out. Looking rich and being rich pull money in exactly opposite directions. Every dollar spent trying to look wealthy is a dollar that can never actually become wealth. It's gone the moment it leaves your hand, converted into an image instead of an asset. Walter refused to make that trade over and over for 30 straight years. Now let's meet the other man. We'll call him Derek. Derek makes a good salary, genuinely good, but somehow he's $40,000 in debt, and every single dollar has a very specific, very visible reason. The leased car, the name brand wardrobe, the dinners out that get posted online before anyone even takes a bite. Derek isn't buying happiness, he's buying a costume. And costumes, it turns out, are incredibly expensive to maintain. Here's the psychological trap running underneath Derek's entire life, and honestly, most people's lives. Humans are wired to signal status. It's ancient wiring, built for survival in small tribes where visible resources meant safety. The problem is that wiring never got the memo that the world changed. In a small tribe, showing resources built trust and protection. In a modern economy, showing resources just drains your bank account, while the actual protection, savings, investments, never gets built. Walter understood this instinct existed inside him too. He just refused to let it drive the car. Every time the urge to upgrade something unnecessary showed up, he asked himself one specific question. Am I buying this because I need it or because I want someone else to see it? That single question, asked consistently for 30 years, is worth more than almost any financial advice you'll ever hear. This is what we're calling the invisibility strategy. Not because Walter is hiding anything shameful, because he understood that visibility has a price tag and he simply chose not to pay it. Here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. Researchers have actually studied this exact pattern across thousands of high net worth individuals, and the results consistently contradict what most people assume about wealth. The majority of actual millionaires don't drive luxury cars. They don't live in the most expensive neighborhoods they could technically afford. They live one, sometimes two, tiers below what their income would allow. This isn't an accident. It's a pattern. Meanwhile, the people who look the wealthiest, flashy cars, designer everything, the most impressive social media, are disproportionately likely to be living paycheck to paycheck, funding the image with debt instead of assets. This is called the Millionaire Next Door effect, and it's been documented for decades. The person who looks rich is often financing an illusion. The person who looks ordinary is often quietly building the real thing. So why doesn't everyone just copy Walter's strategy? Because it feels terrible in the moment. It requires tolerating something the human brain is specifically wired to avoid, looking less impressive than you could. This discomfort has a name: social cost aversion. The fear of appearing lower status is processed by the brain almost like a physical threat. Walter had to override that alarm bell, deliberately, thousands of times for decades. Derek, on the other hand, let the alarm win every single time. Every purchase silenced the discomfort for a moment. And every silenced discomfort cost him real money that could have built real security. Here's the part that makes this genuinely strategic, not just frugal. Every dollar Walter didn't spend on appearance got redirected somewhere else entirely, somewhere Derek never even considered. Walter invested the difference, not dramatically, not all at once, just consistently, month after month, letting compound growth do what it's always done, quietly, patiently, and eventually, powerfully. 30 years of small, invisible decisions became $4 million. 30 years of Derek's visible decisions became $40,000 of debt and a car that's worth less than what he still owes on it. Same amount of time, wildly different outcomes. The difference was never about income. Walter and Derek actually earned similar amounts over their careers. The difference was entirely about where the money was allowed to go. So here's the real question worth sitting with. If looking poor is actually the strategy that builds real wealth, why does almost nobody choose it? The answer isn't laziness. It's something far more human than that. Nobody wants to feel judged. Nobody wants to feel like they're falling behind their coworkers, their neighbors, their old classmates who seem to be doing so much better. The pressure to visibly keep up is relentless, and it's everywhere. This is why the invisibility strategy isn't just financial, it's psychological. It requires genuinely not caring what strangers or even close friends think about your car, your clothes, or your apartment. Walter didn't achieve this overnight. In his 20s, he cared just as much as anyone. The shift happened slowly, through a specific realization that changed how he saw every purchase for the rest of his life. He realized that the people judging his old car weren't actually paying his bills. They weren't funding his retirement. Their opinion cost him nothing to ignore and cost him everything to obey. This is the mental shift underneath the entire strategy. Status is rented from strangers who will forget your car by tomorrow. Wealth is owned permanently, whether anyone ever notices it or not. So what does this actually look like in practice? It's not about extreme deprivation. Walter isn't miserable. He isn't living in a cardboard box. He simply stopped funding an audience that was never actually watching that closely. Step 1 of the strategy is the audience audit. Before any purchase meant to impress someone, ask exactly who that someone is. Most of the time, the honest answer is strangers who won't remember by next week. Step 2 is the 10-year test. Ask whether this purchase will matter to your financial future 10 years from now, or whether it's solving a problem that only exists for the next 10 minutes. Step 3 is redirecting the difference. Every dollar not spent trying to look wealthy needs an actual destination. Savings, investments, debt payoff. Invisibility without redirection is just deprivation. Invisibility with redirection is strategy. Step 4 is choosing your circle carefully. Surrounding yourself with people who value substance over appearance makes the entire strategy dramatically easier because the social pressure driving visible spending simply has less fuel to work with. Walter's closest friends were other quiet builders, people who never once commented on his old car or his coupon clipping. That environment made invisibility feel normal instead of embarrassing. None of this means visible spending is always wrong. It means understanding the actual cost of visibility and making that trade consciously instead of automatically every single time the urge shows up. Derek is still working on this. He's $40,000 behind where he could be, but he's not stuck there forever. The moment he starts asking Walter's question, need or want someone to see it, everything can start shifting. This is the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath the entire video. Most people aren't broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because they're funding an image instead of a future, one invisible dollar at a time. And the wealthiest people you've never noticed, standing in line at the grocery store, driving the older car next to yours, are usually the ones who figured this out decades before anyone else around them did. If any part of this felt uncomfortable, that discomfort is worth paying attention to. It's usually pointing directly at the exact spending pattern quietly working against you the most. Looking rich costs money every single day for the rest of your life with nothing to show for it later. Looking poor, done strategically, costs almost nothing and quietly builds something real, one invisible decision at a time. There's a millionaire who drives a 12-year-old car, wears the same 5 shirts on rotation, and orders the cheapest thing on the menu every single time. You'd never guess what he's actually worth. And now you know exactly why that's the whole point.